Okay, we're going to take our first break. We're going to go through 10 things. There's 3 of you here. 9 things. Each of you come up with 3, one at a time. 3 things you learned this morning. What's one?
For me, I guess it's the importance of the breath through movement or through healing.
Okay. Kiona, what's one thing you learned this morning?
Just to add to the breath, I knew the fundamentals, but the stimulation of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, depending on if you're inhaling or exhaling.
Okay, excellent. Warren?
I've always had, I guess, difficulty or problems both understanding and applying the PDN.
PDN, yeah.
So gotten more understanding here, first of all, the placement of the ridge and of the concept, and with practical application yet to come.
Fantastic. Next.
I guess the other thing for me too is going to be the importance of putting a limb or whatever body part you're working with as far as loading and unloading, and having the senses with your hands to be able to either stop when an individual's not going through range of motion, or they're not moving through range of motion. It's just the sensitivity we're going to have in our own body to connect with the patient.
Very, very important. Very, very important. Very important. Because it is interactive.
Yeah. I got a really clear concept now of the difference between, or what the the difference between neurology and histology with respect to the muscles. Really clear, defined definition, understanding of that I didn't have this before.
Excellent.
Yeah, going back to the breathing, in doing massage therapy, I've found that Trigenic technique is really great for loosening necks, especially scalenes. So I work with my client supine, and I did instruct them on the breathing, but just this morning I picked up, instead of just a hiss, I picked up a lot more intricate detail. So I have better understanding, and I will be able to work better with my clients.
Beautiful.
I guess the other thing too for me is if we're following through a range of motion with the client and we're unloading, the fact that we're really not going to have to put that much pressure to make a significant difference in the neurological pathway of the client.
Exactly. You're going to get the client to use their own nervous system to do it, instead of us trying to force it. Right?
Absolutely.
That's the whole point of it. That's the whole aha moment that I got about Trigenics in the first place.
Very key.
When it came to me going, hey, why don't you get the wiring, the internal wiring to work for you?
Is there some intention with this too? I mean, as a therapist, you don't talk about intention, especially if you're talking to a dog. Well, my intent is...
Of course there's intention. Intention on your part, and the intention is also given to the patient to create the intention at the same time as you are. They're not just a passive recipient, they're an interactive participant. That's the difference.
But you can't teach them until you fully understand it yourself.
That's right. The patient goes through a learning curve with Trigenics.
And then what you described, or you have as well, Dennis, is the OMG moment.
That's right.
And in Chinese, oh my God.
That's right. Okay, what else?
One of the things that's been going through my mind as I read and reread the book is just the steps of a session. So because my work is predominantly the client is generally quite passive, I've been curious to know how much you move them through and talk them through. So just, I know we're going to get deeper into it, but the beginning stages of, yes, you teach them the breath, and yes, you work through the motions that they're going to go through in each and every exercise, and actually communicate with them on that. So
Good.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is kind of the difference between complexity and simplicity. Like, there's so much background and detail and anatomy and this, that, and the other, but the better one understands it, it's like an athlete. When they're good, it looks so simple, and that's a sign of how much they've got. So the better that one can actually apply these techniques and make it simple for the client, it'll be like a living example of how much complexity we have, as the therapists, have absorbed.
Well, it's very interesting that you say that, because Just a couple of weeks ago, I've been working on a patient that's a quadriplegic, fell off a roof in Hamilton. So I drive out to Hamilton to see him in the hospital out there. And for the second treatment, they said, yeah, we want to bring you back. We want to bring the therapists in to see what you're doing. We can see how you're doing this, you know. Because the first time I went in, I was the first person after he's been lying in bed for a year to be able to get him to actually extend his hands and to be able to put his hand up and be able to actually, from a foot that's completely dead with no movement, do that. And, so they brought the therapist in, and the therapist looked at what I was doing, and I went on the right leg, and I went, and I did the work, and I told him what to do. And the next thing you know, suddenly his foot from, you know, like we'd said, please try and move it, try and move it. Then I did the procedure, and his foot went up. And I said, do that again, and his foot went up. And the therapist went, oh, you're just blah, blah. You're just, I said, well, it may look like I'm just doing this, but I'll tell you what, why don't you come over and give it a try, and I'll work on the other leg. And I asked him, can you move the other leg? Nothing, no. Okay. So she went over, and I went over to the other leg. She was working, she was watching, she was doing nothing. And I had the other leg going, and she, with the frustration on her face, because it looks simple.
But it ain't.
But it isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can turn that off.